All right, strap in everyone because we're taking a deep dive into the future, and I'm talking about an AI-powered future.
What's really interesting is that when we talk about the future of AI, we're not talking about one single path, but
Mm.
more like, one of those choose your own adventure books with some seriously wild possibilities.
I like where you're going with this.
And luckily for us, there's a 2024 report by ARL and CNI called ARL CNI AI Scenarios, AI Influenced Futures, that lays out four potential scenarios, almost like four different plots for how AI might play out.
And the really crazy thing is this report focuses on COP35, which is basically right around the corner.
Right. This isn't some distant future we're talking about. This is potentially our reality in just a little over a decade.
So no pressure, right? But seriously, consider this your crash course in navigating the uncertainties of an AI-shaped future.
And trust me, it gets pretty wild.
I bet. So where do we even begin? What are the big questions we should be asking ourselves when we think about these different AI futures?
Well, the report highlights two really critical questions. The first is all about intentionality. How proactive are we going to be in shaping AI to work for us to benefit humanity?
Okay, so are we designing the future of AI or are we just along for the ride?
Exactly. Are we the architects or are we just passengers? And the second question is about adaptability.
Okay, I like where this is going.
How are we as individuals and as a society going to adjust to a world that's increasingly intertwined with AI? Because, like it or not, AI is here to stay.
No arguments there. So we've got our two big questions, intentionality and adaptability. How do those questions play out in the report?
Well, the report presents us with four very different scenarios, each one springing from different answers to those two big questions.
So it's like four alternate realities based on how we choose to answer those questions.
Precisely. And it's not about predicting which future will come true, but about understanding the spectrum of possibilities and, more importantly, what each scenario means for you, for me, for all of us.
Let's jump right into it. What's the first scenario we're tackling?
All right, scenario number one is called Democratized and Socially Integrated AI. I have to admit, it does sound pretty utopian at first glance.
Yeah, it does sound a bit like a tech utopia.
It does, doesn't it? This scenario imagines a future where we're consciously guiding AI development down a responsible, ethical path.
So instead of just racing to build the coolest, most powerful AI, it's about building AI that benefits everyone.
Exactly. It's about inclusivity, transparency, making sure everyone has a seat at the table when it comes to shaping the future of AI.
That all sounds great in theory, but how does that actually play out in the real world? What impact would that have on research and knowledge? You know me, I love to dig deep into a topic, so I'm curious about how this scenario might change the way we research and learn.
In this scenario, picture this. Virtual research libraries, accessible from anywhere in the world to anyone.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. Everyone having access to the world's knowledge right at their fingertips.
But it goes even deeper than that. We're not just talking about raw data here. These virtual libraries would capture the essence of human knowledge and experience.
Okay, now you're going to have to explain that one.
Yeah.
What does that even look like in practice? How can AI capture something as intangible as human experience?
Think about it this way. Imagine being able to delve into not just the findings of a research paper, but the entire thought process behind it.
Whoa, okay. Now that's a game changer.
You could trace the evolution of ideas, understand the nuances, the dead ends, the breakthroughs, all of it.
It'd be like having a direct line to the minds of the researchers, almost like a roadmap of their journey.
Exactly. And not just one researcher, but countless researchers working on a given topic over time.
No more sifting through endless journal articles trying to piece it all together yourself.
You got it. And imagine this attending a global research symposium, but from your living room, collaborating in real time with colleagues from all over the world.
Now that's what I call democratizing knowledge.
No.
No more barriers to entry, just a global community of minds working together.
Exactly. AI breaking down those barriers and fostering collaboration on a scale we can barely imagine right now.
This scenario sounds amazing, but I have a feeling it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the potential downsides of this AI-powered utopia? What happens when we shift gears and AI becomes less about global collaboration and more about personalized experiences?
You're definitely onto something. It's time to cue the upbeat music because scenario number two takes us in a slightly different direction. Consumer-oriented AI focused on education and entertainment.
Okay, I can already hear the catchy jingle in my
A
head.
good one, right?
So in this scenario, instead of tackling the world's biggest problems, AI is busy creating personalized experiences for us.
You got it. Imagine a world of hyper-personalized education where learning is tailored to your unique style, your pace, your interests.
That sounds pretty amazing, actually.
Right, and entertainment. Forget passive watching. We're talking about immersive, interactive experiences like stepping inside a video game or having a conversation with a historical figure.
Okay, I'm not going to lie, that sounds pretty tempting. But where does research fit into all of this?
That's the catch. In this scenario, research becomes increasingly dominated by those who can afford it, well-funded institutions, big tech companies.
So while I'm over here having a virtual reality chat with Einstein, someone else is being denied access to potentially life-changing research because they can't afford it.
It's a very real possibility. This scenario raises some serious questions about equity, access, and the potential for AI to widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots.
Definitely something to think about. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement of personalized experiences, but we can't forget about the potential consequences, especially when it comes to something as fundamental as knowledge and research.
Couldn't agree more. It's all about finding that balance, right?
Right. So we've got utopian AI and personalized AI, but what happens when we take away the guardrails completely? What happens when we let AI develop unchecked?
That's where things start to get a little more unsettling. Scenario 3, laissez-faire AI, explores just that, the potential consequences of letting AI develop without any oversight or ethical guidelines.
Okay, laissez-faire. I'm already getting a proceed with caution vibe from this one.
And with good reason. This scenario asks us to consider what happens when we prioritize speed and innovation over responsibility and ethics.
So imagine a world where algorithms are making decisions based on biased data, where misinformation spreads like wildfire, where you can't even tell what's real anymore.
It's a scenario that highlights the importance of critical thinking, of being able to discern fact from fiction in a world where technology makes it increasingly difficult to do so.
We talk a lot about information overload these days, but this takes it to a whole new level.
It's not just about being bombarded with information, but about being able to navigate that information landscape effectively.
It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is on fire, and the needle might be a fake.
A very fitting analogy. We're talking about a world where AI could potentially be used to manipulate and exploit on a massive scale if we're not careful.
Okay, I think we need to take a deep breath before we dive into scenario 4. If scenario 3 is the proceed with caution scenario, I'm guessing scenario 4 is the abandon all hope scenario.
Not quite, but it's definitely the one that gets you thinking about some really big existential questions.
Okay, lay it on me. What happens when AI goes from being a research assistant to being the researcher?
Scenario 4, autonomous AI. This is the scenario where AI becomes so advanced that it surpasses human capabilities in research and potentially in many other areas as well.
Wait, hold on. Are we talking about a future where AI is making groundbreaking discoveries, but we can't even understand them, let alone replicate them?
That's the gist of it. Imagine AI agents not just assisting with research, but leading the charge, designing and conducting experiments, publishing findings, all with minimal human involvement.
My brain is officially starting to melt. So if AI is potentially uncovering knowledge at a pace and complexity beyond our grasp, what role do humans even play in this scenario? What's the point of human researchers? So are we basically obsolete in this scenario? Are we all just going to be sitting on the sidelines watching AI do its thing?
It's a question a lot of people are asking, and it's a valid concern, but it's not necessarily about us becoming obsolete. Remember, even at this advanced level, AI is still a tool. It's a tool that might be able to analyze data, spot patterns, and design experiments faster and more efficiently than we ever could.
But it still needs us humans to guide it, to ask the right questions, right?
Exactly. The why behind the what, that's where humans still come in. We bring the context, the curiosity, the big picture thinking that AI, at least for now, hasn't quite mastered.
So instead of being replaced, our roles shift. We become the interpreters, the translators, the ones who can bridge the gap between AI's complex insights and their real-world applications.
I like that. We become the sense makers. Think about it. AI might be able to identify a potential cure for a disease, but it's human researchers who design the treatment, who figure out how to deliver it safely and ethically.
Or AI could model complex climate change scenarios with incredible accuracy. But it's still up to human policymakers to use that information to make tough decisions, to craft effective policies.
It's a fascinating paradox. AI might be able to process information at speeds we can't even fathom, but it's our human ability to contextualize, to empathize, to apply that information in a way that makes sense for humanity that remains essential.
It's like that old saying, With great power comes great responsibility. AI might have the power, but we still have the responsibility.
And the creativity. Let's not forget that. Even in a world where AI is making groundbreaking discoveries, there's still something uniquely human about creativity, about that spark of imagination that leads to truly innovative solutions.
So we're not just talking about a future where we're working alongside AI. We're talking about a future where we're constantly learning, adapting, and evolving our skills to keep pace.
Absolutely. Think about the implications for education. We're no longer just teaching students facts and figures, we're teaching them how to think critically, how to solve problems, how to be adaptable and resilient in the face of change.
It's about fostering those uniquely human skills that will be valuable in any future, AI-driven or not.
Exactly. Imagine a world where instead of rote memorization, we're teaching kids how to ask the right questions, how to think outside the box, how to collaborate and communicate effectively. Those are the skills that will set them up for success no matter what the future holds.
It's a bit daunting,
Mm.
but also exciting to think about all the possibilities. It's like we're standing at the edge of a whole new world, and we have this amazing opportunity to shape it.
And that's the beauty of these scenarios. They're not meant to be predictions. They're meant to be conversation starters, thought experiments that help us explore the potential consequences of our choices.
So instead of being afraid of the unknown, we need to embrace it, to ask those tough questions, to challenge
Yeah.
our assumptions, and to work together to create a future where AI enhances our humanity, not diminishes it.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
So we've explored a world where humans and AI are partners in progress, one where AI transforms entertainment and education, and another where uncontrolled AI leads to chaos. And finally, we ventured into a future where AI might just be calling the shots in research. Where do we go from here? How do we make sense of these wildly different yet equally possible futures?
It all comes back to those two fundamental questions we discussed earlier: intentionality and adaptation. How intentional are we going to be in shaping the development and deployment of AI? And how willing are we to adapt to the changes that AI will inevitably bring?
It's like democratized and socially integrated AI sounds amazing on paper, but is it actually feasible?
It's definitely the most optimistic of the four scenarios, but you're right, it's not without its challenges.
It feels like there are some potential hurdles we need to clear before we get to that ideal future.
For sure. And I think one of the biggest ones is figuring out how to make that whole essence of human knowledge and experience thing a reality.
Yeah, that's the part that still feels a bit like science fiction to me.
Right. Like, how do we even begin to build an AI system that can grasp something as intangible as human experience?
Exactly. It's one thing to create a massive database of information, but it's another thing entirely to create a system that can understand the context, the connections, the nuances of human thought.
It's not just about digitizing libraries. It's about capturing the messy, non-linear way humans actually think and learn.
So we're talking about a system that can understand not just what we know, but how we know it, right?
Precisely. Imagine being able to trace the evolution of a scientific theory, not just through published papers, but through the researchers' notes, their emails, their conversations.
It'd be like having access to the entire thought process, all the dead ends, the breakthroughs, everything that went into making that discovery.
Exactly. And imagine how valuable that would be, not just for researchers, but for students, for policymakers, for anyone who needs to make sense of complex information.
It's like the difference between reading a textbook and having a conversation with the author.
Exactly. But here's the thing. This level of transparency, it requires a level of openness and collaboration that we don't always see, even in the best of circumstances.
So even if we can build an AI system that can grasp the essence of human knowledge and experience, are we ready for that level of openness? Are we willing to break down the silos and share information freely?
That's the million-dollar question. We need to address the systemic issues that prevent knowledge from being shared equitably, things like data ownership, intellectual property rights, even the competitive nature of research itself.
So it's not just a technological challenge, it's a cultural challenge.
Absolutely. We need to shift from a mindset of knowledge scarcity to a mindset of knowledge abundance. We need to embrace the idea that we're all better off when we share what we know.
It's a big ask, but if we want to create a future where AI truly empowers humanity, it's a conversation we need to have. But even if we can overcome those challenges, there's still the issue of trust.
Right, just because we have access to more information than ever before doesn't mean we should blindly trust everything we see and hear.
So even in this utopian vision of AI, critical thinking is still key.
Absolutely. It's about being discerning, questioning our own biases, and being wary of those who might use AI to manipulate or mislead.
It's like that old saying, trust but verify. It applies to the AI age as well.
Exactly. We need to be savvy consumers of information, whether it's generated by humans or by AI.
It's been an incredible journey exploring these different AI futures with you.
The possibilities are both exciting and a bit daunting, aren't they?
They really are. It's clear that the future of AI is not predetermined. It's something we're actively shaping through our choices, our actions, and our willingness to engage in these tough conversations. So, to our listeners, what are your thoughts on these AI-influenced futures? What kind of future do you want to create? Let us know, and who knows, maybe we'll revisit this topic on a future episode. Until then, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.